water, go over his notes, and then he'll be out here because there are a lot of people who are waiting to see the president. It's really interesting to me, Judge, having been through the entire campaign and then followed him for the last almost 10 months now as president, that the one group that he really has an affinity for, and you can really tell that it's return, is with the military.
Yeah, there's no question.
And that's why he was out there signing autographs and taking selfies with people. That the group of people that he appreciates so much is that 1% that gives so much to the defense of this country. And we heard John Kelly speak so eloquently about that, the Chief of Staff, the former Commander General, who I first got to know in Iraq back in 2003 during the invasion, talking about the fact that the majority of people in this country do not know what it's like to serve in the military.
Yeah.
And he was taking questions that day from members of the press in the Brady briefing room. And he said, how many people here are from a Gold Star family? Nobody put up their hand.
Yeah.
And he said, how many people know a Gold Star family? And it was only a handful of individuals who did. So it really shows the rarefied environment in which these men and women, these brave men and women, these courageous men and women from our military and the families that support them serve in. It's only 1% of the population, Judge, but it's a 1% that gives so much to this country.
And you know, I'm going to bring Ambassador Bolton back. You know, Ambassador John Roberts is so correct. I mean, President Trump has such an affinity and such a display of affection for not only the military, but for law enforcement. And you could see that it's real and it's genuine, and it's the kind of thing that Americans are almost unaccustomed to, especially in the last 8 years. And so, you know, his display of respect for them, I think, is causing the whole country to take another look at the military, especially where there's so few of us who are in military families, unlike other countries like Israel, for example, where everybody, men and women, are part of the Israeli Defense Force.
Yeah, well, there's a strong argument that really the military draft was something that helped bring the country together, that it put a responsibility on everybody. And while philosophically an all-volunteer army makes a lot of sense, you have to wonder if that common effort in the military for a year or 2 years isn't something that we should take a look at again as we see all these fractures and political splits in the country. I think it has a lot to recommend it.
Well, and Congressman Chaffetz, also in terms of the military and the president, his show of respect for them and the possibility of even a military parade and what we're seeing here tonight, do you expect that there might be a difference in terms of this country, and given someone like General Kelly being chief of staff and Mattis and, you know, the respect for the military in this administration?
No, absolutely. And it comes on the heels of a very disappointing ruling on Bo Bergdahl. And I think a lot of families, military families, were absolutely devastated. It'll be interesting to see if the president addresses that and talks about it. But I want to remind people, there are literally tens of thousands of Americans who are affected by this trip. When you have 3 carrier groups in the area, we have a very difficult time operating without the help and assistance of the Japanese. We're going into those ports. Our men and women and their families are ingrained to the Japanese culture. And so to have the president there is just an added special benefit and a bonus. And I think you'll see the Japanese people really embrace this president, because he is very much pro-military, but his relationship with Prime Minister Abe comes at a very critical time, and they do have a very good working relationship, and that spills over into the military as well.
And you know, when you say that, Congressman, it spills over to ordinary Americans and the importance of allies and friendship. All right, I'm hearing in my ear that the president is about to come to the podium. We don't quite know who's here. He comes.
First Lady of the United States.
Take the lesson.
everybody. Mr. President, sir, I will tell you that you look great in that suit, but there's something missing. Could I please ask the wing commander of the biggest, baddest, meanest C-130 wing in the Air Force, Colonel Bull Moss, to come out here? Go ahead, Bull. Just give it to the boss.
Oh, wow. Should I put it on? I like this better. You can have my jacket, just. Right? Thank you, honey. Thank you. Oh, boy, that's something. This is a great group of people. Thank you very much, and General Martinez, everybody, for your devoted leadership of our brave troops right here in Japan. And especially thank you, especially to all of the incredible service members. We're really here today, and we're going to have a good time. And we're going to celebrate your achievements. So I'll issue one of your favorite commands. Are you ready? At ease. At ease. Just sit there. Now have a good time. Just have a good time. Melania and I also want to extend a special thanks to Ambassador Bill Hagerty, who's doing an outstanding job. He's an outstanding person. I know him very well. Believe me, you got one of the great ones. He's leading our American embassy in Tokyo. I'm honored to be here today in this beautiful country, home of the extraordinary people of Japan. Japan is a treasured partner and crucial ally of the United States. And today we thank them for welcoming us and for decades of wonderful friendship between our two nations. Americans have deep respect and admiration for the people of Japan, their amazing culture, their strong spirit, and their very proud history. So on behalf of the United States of America, I send the warmest wishes of the American people to the citizens of this remarkable country. Now I know how you guys feel. This is pretty good. Our travels across Asia will take us to many historic places, to see many wonderful sights, and to speak before many audiences. But there's no single place I'd rather begin my trip than right here with all of you, the incredible men and women of the United States military and your amazing partners, the Japanese Self-Defense Forces. Thank you for being here. Thank you. To everyone here today who serves your country in uniform, thank you, thank you, thank you. We salute you. What's your rank? We're going to raise it. We salute you, we honor you, and we stand proudly with the men and women who defend us and our way of life. Nations are built from the courage, love, and sacrifice of patriots just like you. Each of you inherits the proud legacy of generations of warriors that have walked these very grounds for more than 7 decades. From Yokota's runways, American pilots took to the air and drove back the invaders during the Korean War. Tremendous courage, tremendous bravery. From here, they enforced a precious peace during a long and bitter Cold War. And in the aftermath of the devastating 2011 tsunami, This base served as the launching point for Operation Tomodachi, largest humanitarian relief effort in American history, which saved the lives of thousands and thousands of great Japanese citizens. Like those who came before you, you always rise to the occasion, and you never, ever let your country down. General Martinez, General Shirati, General Pascaret, Rear Admiral Fenton, Brigadier General Winkler, Colonel Moss, and Chief Master Sergeant Green, you lead the forces under your command with exceptional skill and devotion, and America is tremendously grateful to you. We're also very fortunate to stand alongside such strong and capable allies. General Mahira, General Asai, General Imaki, and General Ando. Thank you for your leadership and service. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. On behalf of the American people, I want each and every one of you, both American and Japanese, to know that your service and commitment helps keep us all safe, strong, and free. I also want to express our gratitude to the family members and loved ones who sacrifice so much to make your service possible. They are absolutely incredible people, and it's not easy. America is profoundly grateful for all you do. And we are back home starting to do, I will tell you, and you're reading and you're seeing really, really well. The stock market is at an all-time high. Unemployment back in the United States is at a 17-year low. Almost 2 million jobs have been added since a very, very special day. It's called Election Day, November 8th. 2 million jobs. It's a lot of jobs. And we've dealt ISIS one brutal defeat after another, and it's about time. It's truly inspiring to see American airmen and Marines and Japanese. Yeah, I have a great Marine here, General Kelly, 4-star. Did anyone ever hear of General Kelly? Where's General Kelly? He is something. Now he's Chief of Staff. But he does like those 4 stars, I want to tell you that. But American airmen and the Marines and Japanese self-defense forces, they're standing here with us today, side by side, confident, committed, and more capable than ever. You instill confidence in the hearts of our allies, and you strike fear in the hearts of our enemies. It's the way it should be, isn't it? Our alliance is a testament to the transformative power of freedom. Today, nations that once waged war now stand together as friends and partners in pursuit of a much better world. And we're getting there. We're getting there faster than you think. With your presence here today, shoulder to shoulder, you put hope into every soul that yearns for peace. All of you have made Yokota one of the most capable operational bases in Japan and actually anywhere in the world. For over a decade, this incredible place has been home not only to American service members, but also to the Air Defense Command of the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force. Today, this base serves as a critical center for coordination for American and Japanese commanders to plan their missions. For almost 60 years, the military alliance we see on this base has endured a cornerstone of sovereignty, security, and prosperity for our nations, this region, and indeed the entire world. Today we pay tribute to that legacy, a legacy you protect and grow each and every day. We dominate the sky, we dominate the sea, we dominate the land and space. Not merely because we have the best equipment, which we do. And by the way, a lot of it's coming in. You saw that budget. That's a lot different than in the past. A lot of beautiful, brand new equipment is coming in. And nobody makes it like they make it in the United States. Nobody. Got a lot of stuff coming. Use it well. But because we have, more important than equipment, we have the best people. Each of you embodies the warrior creed. Your devotion, prowess, and expertise make you the most fearsome fighting force in the history of our world. Together with our allies, America's warriors are prepared to defend our nation using the full range of our unmatched capabilities. No one, no dictator, no regime, and no nation should underestimate ever American resolve. Every once in a while in the past, they underestimated us. It was not pleasant for them, was it? It was not pleasant. We will never yield, never waver, and never falter in defense of our people, our freedom, and our great American flag. That flag stands for the values of our republic, the history of our people, the sacrifice of our heroes, and our loyalty to the nation we love. As long as I am president, the servicemen and women who defend our nation will have the equipment, the resources, and the funding they need to secure our homeland, to respond to our enemies quickly and decisively, and when necessary, to fight, to overpower, and to always, always, always win. Right? This is the heritage of the American Armed Forces, the greatest force for peace and justice the world has ever known. Free nations must be strong nations, and we welcome it when our allies from Europe to Asia renew their commitment to peace through strength. We seek peace and stability for the nations of the world, including those right here in this region, and it's a great region. As Americans celebrate Veterans Day this month, we honor all who have sacrificed to make peace and stability possible. We pay tribute to every proud American who has worn the uniform and served our country. Today, many nations of the Indo-Pacific are thriving because of the sacrifices made by American service members and our allies, and because of the sacrifices all of you continue to make each and every day. Here in Japan, we have seen the amazing things that are possible when a people are free and independent. Over the course of a single lifetime, the Japanese people have built one of the most successful societies and nations in the world. Over the next 10 days, we travel to South Korea, China, Vietnam, and the Philippines. We will seek new opportunities for cooperation and commerce, and we will partner with friends and allies to pursue a free and open Indo-Pacific region. We will seek free, fair, and reciprocal trade. But this future is only within our grasp because of you. You make it possible for peace-loving nations to thrive and for peace-loving people to prosper. You are the reason the great American flag will proudly stand behind me wherever I go. And every time I look at that flag, I will think of brave men and women like you. And I will think of all of the American patriots down through the generations who poured out their blood, sweat, tears, hopes, and dreams to defend our country. When you follow your citizens and people across the Indo-Pacific region see the flags of free and sovereign states like the United States and Japan displayed during our diplomatic meetings over the next 10 days, be proud of your nation, be proud of your service, and be proud of the security you provide that makes it all possible. Like your predecessors, you, our brave warriors, are the last bulwark against threats to the dreams of people in America and Japan and all across the world. You are the greatest hope for people who desire to live in freedom and harmony, and you are the greatest threat to tyrants and dictators who seek to prey on the innocent. History has proven over and over that the road of the tyrant is a steady march toward poverty, suffering, and servitude. But the path of strong nations and free people, certain of their values and confident in their futures, is a proven path toward prosperity and peace. We cherish our cultures, we embrace our values, and we always fight for what we believe in. Because of you, the people of America, the people of Japan, and the freedom-loving people everywhere are able to fulfill their destinies and follow their dreams. And we are grateful for your families, for their sacrifice and support that allows our brave men and women to serve. We also appreciate the sacrifice of dedicated civilians who keep this base going and take care of our military and their precious loved ones. We are eternally grateful for your service and for your sacrifice, and we are forever in your debt. I am so proud to be here with you today. We face many challenges and many opportunities, and we will face all of them together as a team. And if we do, I am certain that the future for America, for Japan, and for our cherished allies has never, ever looked brighter. Because of patriots like you, freedom will prevail. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the armed forces, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, we see President Donald Trump completing his speech to the U.S. troops at the Yokota Air Force Base, in Tokyo, Japan. A very inspirational speech. The president clearly with an affection for the military, giving them a big shot in the arm, talking about what a treasured partner Japan is to the United States, now a crucial ally. And even though at one point we were countries that were at war, we now stand together as friends and partners in pursuit of a much better world. It was clear that this audience, this military audience, was very jazzed up for the president, and he had some very warm words to those troops, telling them that Americans salute them, that they honor them, and that because of them, American people have a remarkable country, and indicating indicating to the troops as well that they have never let us down, but also taking a little credit for what's going on in the United States, the stock market at an all-time high, unemployment at a 17-year low. 2 million jobs since he took since Election Day, and ISIS being defeated, one defeat after another. He gave the military real kudos in saying that they strike fear in the hearts of our enemies. And not only does the United States have the best equipment, we have the best people, and that we dominate the sky, the sea, the land, and space. And that is President Trump giving kudos to the military at the Yokota Air Force Base in Tokyo, Japan. I'm going to call in Ambassador Bolton now as we see the president saying goodbye. Or right now, I'm hearing Congressman Chaffetz. Congressman, you still with us?
Yes, I am.
All right, Congressman, what's your take on that speech this evening? Or 11 a.m.-ish in Tokyo?
Look, the president makes us proud there. You know, these are tough, tumultuous, and dangerous times, and you got tens of thousands of Americans out there serving our nation, being that front line of defense. You got 3 carrier groups in the area, and you had a president who is fiercely patriotic, and I love it, and I think they loved it too. No apologies. He knows that the United States of America is the strongest superpower in the world, and he makes no apologies for it. He loves the red, white, and blue. You can see it in his face, the way he projects it. He's talking from his heart, and that will radiate out to those troops. It was just absolutely, it was great.
Yeah, and it's so powerful when he talks about them, and he talks about American patriots. And I was kind of thrown back to the Winston Churchill when he said American patriots have poured out their blood, their sweat, their tears for the dreams of Americans. A very powerful speech, very well delivered, very well received. A real hand of friendship to Japan, our ally, and very refreshing, Congressman, that the United States and the president, showing public displays of cooperation with allies, as opposed to the last 8 years when our allies had no idea they were our allies based on how they were being treated by Barack Obama.
Yeah, no, look, it harkens back to the times of Ronald Reagan, where peace through strength is one of the things that President Trump talked about that Ronald Reagan projected. And I think that gives comfort to our allies. They know that we are going to work in partnership with them. One of our greatest allies is the Japanese, and we're working closely with South Koreans as well. But everybody in that region is listening to where the president's coming for him, and he is not wavering at all about his commitment to protect the United States, help protect the world, and make sure that we have the biggest, baddest military on the face of the planet with the equipment and the resources that they know in order to get it done.
Well, yeah, and that's what he said. We dominate the sky, the sea, the land, and space. Yeah. You could almost hear the the hangar vibrating at that point. And he said, we must always win, and that was very refreshing too. I mean, where the goal is to win, it was very much Reagan-like. What's the goal? The goal is to win.
Well, I think one of the biggest applause lines is the fact that we're now taking the fight to ISIS. I mean, that place erupted with applause. Yeah. These are people that want to engage in the fight. They want to protect America. They're willing to roll up their sleeves and take the risk in order to get out there and protect the United States. And now they finally have a president who's right there with them and has their back. That's what. They're out there by themselves, away from their family and friends, and a very tough, difficult thing. The Kim Jong-un, who knows what he's going to do at any given time, but there you have a president who's willing to fight for their resources, fight for their families, and fight for the United States.
Clearly. And, to our viewers right now, President Trump just finishing his speech to the troops at the Yokota Air Force in Tokyo, Japan, where he landed. The president there at the stage with First Lady Melania. We're going to stay with this until the president actually gets on Marine One, where where he's going to take off to join Prime Minister Abe to play a little golf, to get out there on the links. But we have just heard a very powerful, very inspiring speech. Two members of the military, a real shot in the arm to those troops in Japan. I don't know if John Roberts is still with us. John?
Hi, Judge. Yes, I'm still here, Judge. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay. It sounded like it was well received at your end, John.
Like I told you going into this, Judge, the one group of people where he has a true affinity and he gets back as good as he gives is with the U.S. military. Every time I've seen him speak to members of the military, it has been a very similar reception. And what's really interesting, too, is, he reached out to the Japanese self-defense forces in his speech. It was very complimentary to them. Yeah. There were members of the Japanese self-defense forces who were in the room, mingled in with members of the U.S. military. So that close cooperation between the two countries on display here tonight as well, or today, because it's morning here in Japan, as the president was giving this address to members of the U.S. military in this aircraft hangar. The interesting thing that I found, Judge, was I was waiting for him to say something specifically about the threat from North Korea, but he spoke in generalities, general terms. The threat from North Korea is something that they care very much about here in Japan. When we were with you last hour, we reminded that two missiles fired from North Korea have flown over the northern Japanese island of Hokkaido. That sends shockwaves through the country when things like that happen. And they do know now here in Japan, they could easily be within range of a nuclear-tipped missile coming from North Korea. So I was a little surprised that the president didn't talk specifically about that, but he's going to be talking about it so much in the next 10 days that maybe he thought he would just speak in generalities to the troops. The real problem that the president has, and maybe Ambassador Bolton can expound on this to a greater degree than I, is what to do about North Korea and how much he pushes China and really gets tough with China to try to get tough on North Korea. Because there are many people who believe, and this is in the area of foreign affairs and intelligence, that Kim Jong-un believes that the only way that his regime can survive is if he acquires nuclear weapons that can be put on the top of missiles and potentially fired at the United States. President Trump says that's a red line for him. He's never going to allow that to happen. But if he goes in and he strikes North Korea militarily, it's going to result in the loss of thousands, if not millions, of lives in South Korea. And right. China would likely come in, and fight on behalf of North Korea as well. So how he threads that needle is something that's very, very difficult.
Well, and John, it seems very interesting that the president was very tempered, so to speak, in what you were referencing in terms of any comments about Kim Jong-un. That was something that he wasn't addressing. This was about the troops. This was about the energy that he gets from the troops, the energy that they get from him, the positive, we will never, ever yield, never falter in defense of freedom, that we're going to fight with our partners. Who knows what's going to happen in China with Xi Jinping. Now, I'm not sure if Ambassador Bolton is with us. Is Congressman? He is not. All right, Congressman Chaffetz, do you think that you can respond to what John Roberts was addressing, and that is that, the threading that needle as it relates to, China, North Korea, and Japan?
Look, it's very difficult. If it was easy, it would have been done a long time ago. But the United States military has to be able to take out any threat at any time. That peace through strength is very, very important. On the diplomatic side of the equation, the Chinese obviously play the most critical role because their biggest threat is to have millions of people from North Korea, if there were some sort of conflict, North Koreans fleeing into the Chinese mainland. And they do not want that. But you got to remember, there's a lot of illicit trade, a lot of black market trading going on there between the North Koreans and the Chinese. And as you look at the senior-most leadership in China, some of those people have actually been educated and trained within North Korea. And so it is a very difficult equation. The show of force, the unification that we have with South Korea and Japan, as well as our other allies around the world, is a very important factor in making sure that the Chinese understand we need their help on this one. I think Nikki Haley has done a great job at the United Nations, but there's a lot more that has to get done.
What are you talking about when you talk about the illicit trading and the black market? What are you talking about?
Well, if you were to get out a map and look at North Korea and that border with China, even though we may have passed sanctions and, they can't be trading of this or that, they are still flowing goods and services across that border. And the economy of North Korea is still emboldened by the fact that the Chinese need that trading to go on back and forth. They don't necessarily want to cut off the trade. The Chinese do not necessarily want to cut off the trade. They want to make sure that those people in North Korea don't flow into China. That humanitarian crisis is something that Beijing absolutely does not want to see.
Well, clearly. And then, of course, the question is, given that North Korea, that many of its people are starving and they certainly don't have money, what they do seem to have is that nuclear power, nuclear weapons that they, are saying has the capacity to be put on a intercontinental ballistic missile and reach the United States. I mean, then we're getting into a totally different area where they can start selling that. And it looks like now, is this Marine One? Is this the president getting on Marine One? He's already on it, and he's on his way to play golf with Prime Minister Abe. But anyway, as it relates to Kim Jong-un, is the ability to now market in nuclear weapons, and that's a bad thing that unfortunately gives him a certain amount of leverage too.
Yeah, as we look at what's going on with the Marine One, typically the Marines will throw up several different helicopters. They'll change positions as the president is moving. So that if somebody did want to do something nefarious, they wouldn't know exactly which aircraft the president was in. But look, the president's relationship with Prime Minister Abe is an important one. As they got together in Florida, they helped solidify that relationship. Around a golf, they're going to talk a little bit about security, but they're also going to talk a lot about trade, because Prime Minister Abe has, when the president pulled back from the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, there were a lot of Japanese and others that were concerned about it, but the president addressed it, albeit briefly. We're going to have trade, but we're going to have something that's fair and that's equal. And the Japanese were able to start, having beef come from the United States, and that was a good thing. Yeah. But there's a lot more trading. Japanese are one of our most important trading partners.
Well, and respect is very much a part of the equation. But I want to ask you a question. I mean, what do you think the role of the First Lady is? I mean, Melania Trump, such an elegant woman. Yeah. I mean, and obviously, you'll find that she spends her time with prime ministers' wives or, other presidents' wives. The role of the First Lady in that, in that effort to have an allegiance with our allies important?
Oh, absolutely important. I mean, as a precursor to this trip, you had Ivanka Trump that was there on the ground in Japan, putting America's foot forward, I think, in a very impressive way. The First Lady is there in a diplomatic role. It's very careful. Every word, every handshake, everything you do is broadcast out there. It's about showing respect and building the relationship. Melania Trump is fairly impressive. She has a multitude of languages that she can speak, and she's a very impressive person, and will speak from her heart. And I think over the course of 10 days, you'll see her reaching out to the world with compassion. And that's a good image for the United States, but it's also good on the diplomatic side to know that we're a good, decent, caring group of people, and the First Lady helps represent that.
Well, you are, what, Jason, you were so eloquent in describing it, that it isn't just, about the elegance, but she shows a great deal of compassion, and that is important in terms of diplomacy and in terms of, the Japanese culture, where respect is so important. And, in today's world, it seems that is kind of low on the totem pole, unfortunately. But I do believe that the First Lady brings such an air and display and reality of elegance and charm. All right. What we've got is President Trump is right there on Marine One, which we're not sure which one, as the Congressman Chaffetz, the former Congressman Chaffetz, has told us. But the president, of course, heading to meet Japanese Prime Minister Abe, where they will discuss world events and the relations between the two countries on the golf course. And of course, the president having just given a speech at the Yokota Air Force Base to the troops as he arrived with the First Lady on Air Force One, a live band really jazzing it up for the troops there. A great deal of energy there displayed between the president and that audience of U.S. troops, where the president honored the troops and using some somewhat familiar lines, telling the troops, we salute you and we honor you. And I want to thank Congressman Chaffetz for being with us. It's been a very, very impressive evening, a very consequential trip of the President of the United States in the Far East. I'm Jeanine Pirro, Justice with Judge Jeanine. We're going to be taking a break. And when that break's over, Greg Gutfeld will be in progress on his show. Thanks for being with us. It's Jeanine Pirro signing off.